What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I am coming at you from the Big Apple truck stop on I-44 exit 13, about 50 miles away from the terminal. Got out here to this delivery about 24 hours early. I thought about stopping at the terminal, but last night I'd hit a bump and this ABS light came on, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna stop in at the terminal, have them yank this trailer off me, and then me not know if I'm gonna get it back in an hour or 20 hours. So I figured I would go ahead and deliver this load and then get it back to the terminal. So that's why I'm sitting out here. But I gotta, probably the best thing about working at Prime is the network of drivers that I've had a chance to meet throughout my 4 years here. Some of these drivers I talk to, every other day. Sometimes it could just be once every few months. In this case, this was somebody that I'd met probably about 4 months ago. Exchanged phone numbers just in case there was any questions that need to be answered, and boom, got a call today. Had a chance to speak with this driver. Now, what I want to talk about in this video is fleet manager, truck driver conflict. And it's hard for me to really give my advice on this because I don't have this conflict with my fleet manager. Never really had any issues with him whatsoever. So me giving this advice was kind of hard for me to do because it's foreign territory for me, and I'd really like to get into what exactly the situation is. But if I get too deep into it and go into exactly what the situation is, anybody that could potentially be watching this might know who this driver is, and I don't want to put them out there like that. But it's a driver that is recently leasing a truck and trying to do everything that they can to make sure the truck is profitable, all this kind of stuff, and trying to operate it like a business. And the fleet manager, and if I could really get into this, it would make a little bit more sense as to what I think a lot of the rub is in this, but I can't get into it. But the fleet manager and this driver are butting heads over accepting loads, turning down loads. There'd be a load that this driver got that was a good paying load, then the load was taken off of them to get a repower, and just things like that. And the problem is they don't feel like their fleet manager is too concerned about the profit of their truck. And there's a reason why this might be the case, but I can't go into why that may not be the same pressure that most fleet managers might have. But anyway, so we're talking about this a little bit, and trying to change fleet managers at Prime is probably a little bit harder than it should be. I do think it needs to be hard. There needs to be some effort put into it, because you might have drivers just changing, trying to change fleet managers on a whim. So I can understand that to a certain degree. But sometimes if there's just a personality conflict, even if all the money's there in itself and there's a personality conflict, that may be a reason. Or if they get along great but the money's not there, there should be a reason. There should be a way to kind of change that, I think. But anyway, my advice to this driver was this. The fleet manager, is, and when I start hearing these stories, I think about how lucky I am with my fleet manager. I mean, a lot of this stuff is so foreign to me. I have people sending me messages that their fleet manager sends them, and I'm just like, man, I can't even imagine that coming out of my fleet manager. I mean, I can't even imagine receiving a message like that. But you know, messages get sent out to this fleet manager's fleet, and basically, you know, loads are bad, you know, whatever. If I assign you a load, take the load, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I mean, every now and then we'll get something similar to that, but it's not the same. But anyway, so my advice to this driver was to just trust the fleet manager for 2 weeks. Accept everything the fleet manager gives you for 2 weeks, and then if things aren't where you need them to be, that's when to have the conversation. Because until you've given, and I would really say that it should be more or less like a month, but sometimes, you know, if you're kind of running low on money and you're trying to give somebody a month to, you know, prove something, you could prove yourself into bankruptcy trying to do that. But 2 weeks at a minimum, then you have a track record where you can go back and say, I've done it your way. Here's where we're at. Here's where I know other people are at. And if you don't give it that period of time, if you turn down any load in a certain period of time while you're trying to prove this, then they could always go back to that load being the one that flipped the entire script. So, you know, you could end up running these couple weeks with, you know, this fleet manager and realizing, you know what, I was wrong. You know, maybe I was focused too much on the cents per mile or the, you know, dollars per day or, you know, whatever. Maybe I should, you know, just trust the system that, you know, all things even out. I mean, that's the way I can look at things. That's the way I look at it. I've never broken things down to cents per mile, dollars per mile, dollars per day, anything like that. I've been lucky, possibly because I'm with my fleet manager and, you know, that sales team or whatever that might be, whoever that is, to where I'm just, you know, I don't really turn down that many loads. I think sometimes maybe people get the wrong impression when I'm like, you know, there's certain places I don't like to go, and it's not like, I think maybe I was out 5 months this last time I was out before I came back out again, and I'm not even sure if I turned down any loads in those 5 months. I don't think I did, but, you know, trust that, I guess to get back on my point, trust that fleet manager for a certain amount of time, whether that's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now you have some concrete numbers to go back and say, this was operating with you in the way you wanted to run it. This is unacceptable for me. I can't work like this. There needs to be a change. What do you suggest? You know, whatever. And then that gives you the opportunity to, and I'm using this term, but you know, put your foot down, even though that's not necessarily what I mean, but that gives you a chance to put your foot down, stand your ground. Now, if you've had a shitty couple weeks and your fleet manager sends you that 98-cent load or whatever it could be, now you have something to stand on and say, you know what, we tried it your way last time, I'm going to decline that load. And when I'm going to decline the load, I mean I really want it declined. I don't want to decline it and then have you still throw me up on the load. So that was my advice in that. I think that that's really the only advice that I could give. Like I said, I haven't been in a situation where I've had to question my fleet manager. I've been lucky enough to be able to look at loads as simple as, I don't like I just left a receiver the other day that's a do not return to. I'm able to look at that. I really don't even look at the money. And that's one thing that I really try to totally separate subject, but you know, the people that drive for me, I want them to do loads that make them feel comfortable. I've never put any pressure on them as far as the amount of money a load's making, how many miles it is, whatever. If you like the load, run the load. And that's kind of the way I do it myself, and that's worked for me. Everybody might not be that lucky, but give it a shot. Run it how they want to run it. When those numbers come back good, go to them and say, listen, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Run me how you want to run me. Things come back, numbers are jacked up, then you can go there, say, you know what, didn't work your way, let's try my way. Here's how I want to do it, and have that conversation. Build that relationship with the fleet manager. So, just a quick one out there. I really don't deliver till tomorrow at 10 o'clock, about 13 miles away, so I will be able to get a good night's sleep and not have to worry about setting no alarms or anything like that. I do appreciate you stopping by. No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.